So, Peyton has encouraged me to do some more videos about gastroparesis and the other conditions that I've developed since then in order to help more people. So, I guess the first part we would want to start talking about is how I got to that point. So, I want to say back in 2010, I started to experience some heartburn. Now, I was I was obviously younger then and like to have a good time. And so if I went out to go drinking or if I had some drinks at home with friends, I wouldn't just have like one or two here or there. I would drink to get like completely drunk to the point where I was going to fall asleep or whatever. Um, and it's not like that happened on a regular basis. Or maybe it did. I don't know. It wasn't like a big deal, but it could have very easily been linked. Uh, Whatever acid reflux or GERD could have very easily been linked to that. Um, but around that time is when I started having the really bad heartburn, or what we thought was heartburn, and it would be to the point where I couldn't move. So it would just be like a burning in the chest and then something very solid, and it felt like somebody was sitting on me. So there'd be times when I would wake up in the morning and I would want to call out to work or even email to work and say, hey, I'm not going to be able to come in, and I couldn't even do that. And I just sat there. Now, there were a couple of different things that I felt helped with this at the time. Um, because I found myself in emergency rooms a lot of times, not knowing what to do in those situations. And probably back then I would say you want to look at your diet and you want to look at basically what you're doing to yourself. So the first diagnosis I got was GERD, which is an acid reflux situation, but it's like a chronic thing that's never going to go away. So I was instantly put on for a temporary situation. Like if this is something that you're experiencing, whenever I was taken to the emergency room where they actually made it feel better, they used Imodium. Um, so I don't know what the situation is behind that. It might be like a chemical or an ingredient thing where it solidifies the acid or something like that. So for some reason that always worked for me in the beginning, or as far as when I went to the emergency room. So if you're experiencing that kind of thing, just know that having Imodium on hand would probably be a good thing for that. But you also want to take your diet very seriously. And there's been times when I've met with nutritionists and dietitians and so forth. More so back then it was nutritionists. But do your own research and look online, and definitely don't just look at anything, but look at stuff that has some like medical credentials behind it, if you know what I mean. So you're not just going on and looking at YouTube videos of me talking about the different types of things you should or should not eat, but definitely look at somebody that has like a doctor in front of their names or MD after it, or something that says that they're a dietitian or so forth, because those are the things that you would want to look at. So I guess number one would say Imodium. And then number two, I would say make sure that you do have medical insurance, because that's always going to help out for you. And if you don't have the money for that, you definitely want to look online to see what kind of state and or government programs to get you insurance or get you some sort of medical care. Because even back then, that was something that I looked into, but because I didn't have all my taxes done for all those years, or had compiled all my income information, I didn't even get around to doing it. And I could have had free medical insurance this whole time, and I probably could have known about my diagnosis all this time. So those are things that you just want to make sure that you keep up with. So if you are just looking at different types of foods and so forth, those are things that you can look for online as well. And it's really amazing what you can find out. But again, I would recommend getting a dietitian too if you can afford it. They're usually, I want to say, the one that I paid for back in September of 2017 was, I think, $200 for my first month, and then $100 a month thereafter. And it was just a matter of that first month we met, and then the second and continuing months we just emailed back and forth. And so those would be different things that I would look into doing, as far as if you just have that initial GERD situation. Now, if you still have troubles like I did, whereas I was in an ER at one point, and they said, your gallbladder is so full, we can't of gallstones, we can't even see it. So, you're gonna need to get that thing taken out. And it ended up being a case where we did have my gallbladder removed. Now, before that, my doctor had me on all kinds of different either proton pump inhibitors or acid reducers, and it didn't really feel like anything really helped. We also tried an antidepressant at once, and that I felt like that made me a little bit crazy. So I did try omeprazole, and I was on that pretty much every day for all of my life. But I did go back and forth with trying different ones, when I didn't have a medical overseer, just to experiment with different things. So I've tried Nexium. I've also tried Prilosec. And then, more recently I've tried Protonix. And then there was also another one that I tried. Can't think of it. Yeah. So I just never felt like I got anything with those. And it turns out that they can actually make symptoms worse, especially if you have a situation like gastroparesis where your stomach is not emptying. It's also what I'm reading online is it's very difficult to tell when your stomach is producing too much acid and when it's not producing enough. So that the whole situation with being diagnosed with GERD can be kind of a gray area. And so you really want to be careful with that, because you don't want to be taking an acid reducer or a proton pump inhibitor without needing it. So those are all things to think about if that's becoming a situation for you. So after my gallbladder was taken out, I did still continue to have problems, but I also still ate like a crazy person. And then it wasn't until and that was about 2011 or so. And then about 2015 or 2013, I got pneumonia, which pneumonia is one of those things where if you have gastroparesis, it can definitely happen because of bacterial overgrowth, because food just kind of rots in your stomach when it doesn't empty, and things that get left behind because your stomach is not opening to allow things through can cause bacteria to overgrow so much into your body that it can definitely get into your lungs. So they never made the connection back then in 2013 because I wasn't seeing a medical professional on a regular, but that is another thing. So I was hospitalized for about 4 days, and that was really traumatizing. And then 2015 is when the nausea started to get really bad. And again, over the years, I tried eating good, or I didn't, and I even tried the gastroparesis diet that they do have online to see if that would do anything. And I don't know if it did or did not, but there's ways that I have adjusted it to hopefully be more gastroparesis friendly and more health friendly. And we'll do a video about that. So as a start, I would say make sure you have your insurance, that you can continue to see a medical professional. Yeah, and if you're not getting any kind of any kind of relief from being treated for GERD or acid reflux, I would definitely look into possibly if you feel like you have gastroparesis. Now, gastroparesis, for me, I get bloated really easily, and this happens every day. I get nauseated every day, have a headache every day, suffer from fatigue every day. There'll be times where there's like a warm feeling internally from the inside. Sometimes if I don't, what I feel like is when I don't eat enough, my limbs will get cold or they'll lose feeling. I obviously have lost lots of weight. What else is there to think about? And those are not everybody's symptoms. Gastroparesis is different with everybody, which is probably why it's so hard to treat it and so hard to confirm that that's really the diagnosis, is because everybody that has been diagnosed with gastroparesis has different symptoms. They're more or less the same, but then what they're able to do to treat is not always the same for everybody, and what people are able to eat is different for everybody too. So again, insurance is important. Keep by you some Imodium if you need it. Yeah, I think that's about it for now, because that'll get us to at least the gastroparesis diagnosis, and then we'll do another video and talk about more stuff.